Tamil Nadu has flagged serious security concerns over the increased presence of the People's Liberation Army of China in Sri Lanka. The Hindu website reported that an alert issued by the state intelligence agency a few days ago said the activities of the Chinese in the neighboring country is a concern to national security and called for an intensified vigil along the coastline. The advisory sent to all cities and districts in the state said the movement of PLA cadres and deployment of high-tech gadgets such as satellites, drones and other communication equipment in northern Sri Lanka required constant surveillance in coastal districts. Citing sources, the alert claimed that the PLA deployed sophisticated gadgets in the garb of launching sea cucumber farming. The security advisory comes days after an alert was issued by the same agency warning that a handful of Chinese nationals had clandestinely entered India via the sea route with the assistance of cadres belonging to a Sri Lanka-based political party. The free movement of Chinese nationals in many parts of the northern Sri Lanka, including Mullaitivu, Puruttithivu, Analaithivu, Misalai and Chevakacheri, had triggered discontentment along Tamil fishermen. They had expressed the apprehension that the Chinese were exploiting the rich sea wealth which is their only source of livelihood. Additional Director General of Police and Chief of Tamil Nadu Coastal Security Group Sandeep Mittal said it was not a disputable fact that the presence of Chinese nationals was increasing in Sri Lanka. The Hindu reported that frequent visits of the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka to islands close to the international maritime boundary line and a drone survey conducted in the area in the guise of assessing prospects of harvesting sea cucumber made developments suspicious.
On the 16th of December 2021, Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Kee Zhenhong, visited the controversial sea cucumber hatchery in Ariale, Jaffna. During the observation visit, he said that it was the beginning for Sri Lanka and China to start working together for a better future. What is happening in Sri Lanka's neighborhood? Earlier this year, Sri Lanka was hit by its first economic crisis since independence in 1948, as authorities disregarded the warnings from experts. Depleted foreign currency reserves meant Sri Lanka could not bring in essential imports. On the other hand, the current Sri Lankan government had absolutely no fixed means of income. Sri Lanka is expected to settle $34 billion worth of international sovereign bonds and development bonds that were obtained bilaterally and from open markets. However, the island nation is in no position to settle these bonds, and Sri Lanka is currently discussing means of obtaining relief to settle its debt. On the 23rd of September 2022, the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the Finance Secretary attended a creditors' meeting to explain Sri Lanka's position, and it was revealed that 52% of Sri Lanka's debt is owed to China. Sri Lanka is now in talks with the Paris Club, a group of officials from major creditor countries, in order to reach a relief program to settle its bilateral debt. However, there lies one issue. China is not a member of the Paris Club. The International Monetary Fund, also known as the IMF, said that Sri Lanka should kick off debt restructuring talks with its bilateral lender China. 12% of Sri Lanka's bilateral debt is from Sri Lanka's closest neighbor, India. Although India is not a member of the Paris Club, it has always encouraged progressive steps on Sri Lanka with respect to the International Monetary Fund and the Paris Club. However, the issue at hand now is how does Sri Lanka obtain debt relief? IMF staff and the Sri Lankan authorities have reached a staff-level agreement to support Sri Lanka's economic policies with a 48-month agreement under the Extended Fund Facility. However, debt relief from Sri Lanka's creditors and additional financing from multilateral partners will be required to help ensure debt sustainability and to close financing gaps. Therefore, it is paramount for Sri Lanka to access debt relief measures with China. President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that he had recently discussed Sri Lanka's debt restructuring with the Chinese finance minister, and he is optimistic that the discussions in this regard would be concluded successfully. While Sri Lanka's economy is in such a state, India has expressed concern on China launching sea cucumber farming in Sri Lanka. So, what are these sea cucumber farms or hatcheries? Kaudarimune in the Poonarin Divisional Secretariat in Kilinochchi is significant due to its geographical position. At this location, a sea cucumber farm is in operation as a China-Sri Lanka joint venture, and its parent company is located in Ariale, Jaffna. The distance from this location to Kaudarimune is around 6 nautical miles. At the same time, India stepped forward to launch a wind power generation project in the same area in Punareen where a Chinese-funded project is taking place. India's Adani Group is already taking measures to invest in the project. Recently, fishermen in Jaffna revealed that an attempt is being made to launch a sea cucumber farm in Kites, Jaffna. On the 14th of October 2022, a special business delegation from India met with the Sri Lankan Fisheries Minister Douglas Devananda and expressed their interest to launch a sea cucumber farm in the north of the island. Every single location that either China or India decided to launch a sea cucumber farm is of significant importance to Sri Lanka economically as well as when considering national security and biodiversity. The Indian High Commission to Sri Lanka visited Adams Bridge for a special puja, and several months later, the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka visited the same area by boat. The Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka also operated a drone from Point Pedro to observe the surrounding areas, while the Indian High Commission made several visits to both the north and east of Sri Lanka. This is where Sri Lanka stands due to various political action 7 decades after obtaining independence. They have been able to push the country to an economic precipice and finally drag it down to a state of humiliation in front of the entire world. What is finally happening now is that the priceless resources and assets of the country are falling into the hands of foreign forces.